Welcome back to Spirit of the Outdoors, y'all. Today I want to talk about goldenrod. This is probably one of my favorite wild edibles and wild medicinal plants. My personal reasons for liking it is it makes a wonderful flavored tea that I like. It has a fallish flavor to me, and everybody's taste buds are different. You may not like what I like. But I dry this and I keep a good bit of it. I didn't keep as much as I would like to, because last year is when I really decided, you know what, this is a good tea that I want to drink. However, with any of these medicinal plants, don't overdo things. Don't, till you know how it's going to affect your body and stuff. And if you're looking, you see several other varieties of plants behind me. These are goldenrod that has not bloomed yet. This over here is already in full bloom. And in fact, some of this is kind of on the latter stages of blooming, but then there's some that haven't bloomed yet. And then you see over here, this purple is giant ironweed that's behind me. I showed a little bit of it. But this is Solidago canadensis. Now, in this Native American medicinal plants book, it lists several varieties, and I really didn't realize that there were that many varieties in the United States, and that's where I'm at, and that's solely what I'm talking about. I think there's some varieties in Europe that we don't have here. In fact, one of the more sought after, from what I read in one of the books, was not here, but I don't really remember the name. I'm going to touch on the Solidagos that it talks about here. Is Solidago californica, Solidago canadensis, and then there's a Solidago canadensis variety of scabra, it says. Solidago confinus, Solidago flexicalis, Solidago gigantea, Solidago juncea, Solidago multidieta. Now forgive me on some of these words, I'm not the greatest linguist. You know my country slang accent, you're going to struggle. Solidago nemoralis, Solidago odora, and that's one of the more prominent ones I think in this area because of the Cherokee Nation, and I'm in Mississippi. The Cherokees stem down to here, but this is mostly from Choctaw land. Solidago regatta. And then this variety I have found on this property, Solidago rugosa, which is known as wrinkle leaf goldenrod. Solidago simplex, Solidago spatulata, Solidago speciosa, and Solidago sclerosa, Solidago uliginosa, Solidago alumifolia, Solidago velutina, and we read all through them just for your entertainment, because I'm sure you got a kick out of me trying to pronounce them. But each one of these varieties, you can tell, are in different parts of the United States due to the fact that this book tells me which different tribes used each one of these. Now, if you've not seen this book, and I'm sure this camera's not going to focus the greatest, but it has the name, the scientific name, Southern California goldenrod is Solidago confinus, and it has the tribe that used it. So as in this one that I found here, it says Solidago rugosa, wrinkle leaf goldenrod, used by the Iroquois for a liver aid. The whole plant was used for, I don't know this word, biliousness, and as a liver medicine. Other decoction of flowers and leaves taken for dizziness, weakness, or sunstroke. So it touches on different things. Some of them use the plant as a tonic, a diuretic. A lot of it was mostly kidney aids and urinary tract. So the Solidago canadensis is going to be one of the more prominent ones across the United States that the majority of people are going to find. It's known as Canada goldenrod. And they have a lot of uses. There's no way I can read through all of this. Now I'm going to put some screenshots of these pages in this video so that if you want to pause the video and look at that you're able to do that. And I made some notes, the stuff, because I get to talking and forget about a lot of what I want to say. And I'm going to lay this one book down. And this is out of the Peterson's Medicinal Plants and Herbs. Now remember that these books, somebody brought this to my attention and I was aware of it, but I hadn't mentioned it. These books are for certain areas. Like this one is Eastern Central. There'll be a Pacific one. There'll be the Northeastern. So whatever area of the United States you're in, you're going to have to make sure you get a Peterson's field guide for that area. But on Canada Goldenrod, I'm going to read what it says right here on most of our area. It says uses. American Indians use the root for burns, the flower tea for fevers, snake bites. Crushed flowers were chewed for sore throats. Contains quercetin, a compound reportedly useful in the treating of hemorrhaging nephritis. Seeds eaten as a survival food. Leaf extracts are diuretic and mildly antispasmodic. Like the European Solidago vagrera, which is the one that we don't really have in the United States, the leaves of the Canada Goldenrod are approved in Germany for use as a diuretic in treatment of inflammatory diseases of the lower urinary tract. Also used in irrigation therapy to both prevent and treat urinary and kidney gravel, known as kidney stones. So there's a lot of, and then there's sweet goldenrod that it mentions right here. The uses are pretty much the same. These are found in dry open woods. You see that I'm in a meadow. You see them a lot of the roadsides, along road ditches and whatever else I've seen, and this is late August. We're at August the 22nd today, and this is in full bloom most places and will bloom for the next several weeks. So the leaves, and I don't know how well you can see on this. We'll get some close-up here in a minute of these plants when I get through talking about it. Some of the leaves have serrations on them. Some of the leaves are smooth. It depends on high up on this plant you look. Up here, these leaves are real smooth. When you get further down this plant, you'll notice that they have serrated edges along that edge. They have ridges and veins, and some of them feel real rough on the bottom, and the top will be smooth. It has a sweet fall flavor. The blossoms make a great tea, and when I preserve this, I cut the stems from the leaves and then I save both of it. I use the leaves and the stems, but I do separate it, just my preferred way of doing it. The uses of leaf tea of the other variety, which is this one, it says is Solidago Adora. Uses leaf tea, pleasant tasting, formerly used as a digestive stimulant, diuretic, mild astringent for colic, to regulate menses, stomach cramps, colds, coughs, fevers, dysentery, diarrhea, measles, externally a wash for rheumatism, neurology, and headaches. Now I did read in this Native American plant book that they use it as an afterbirth wash. They use it as a pediatric wash to wash babies for mild skin conditions. I'm assuming that's like diaper rash and things of that nature. So this, you can boil this down and wash for that. Now in some plants, and I'm not 100% on this, some plants, once you boil it and you bring it to that 170 to 180 degree mark, you begin to kill some of the medicinal properties of that plant. So look into that. I did research, but I haven't seen a definite yes or no in this, so I'm not sure, but be cautious of that. Normally when I make tea out of it, I more or less make an infusion to where I warm the water up, and I'm bad to take the dried plant material or the green plant material and put it inside my coffee pot with water and turn it on and let it just warm up, or either put the dried plant in there and let the coffee heat up and pour into it. That way it's not boiling and it's sitting there warm, and it'll just infuse into that. And I have made it on my stove as a tea, and it boiled in there. But that's mainly when I'm just drinking a tea and I'm not really looking for medicinal properties. So the main... And another thing I wanted to mention on this, that's why I made notes. A lot of people see this and say, oh, that gives me allergies. More than likely, this plant is not giving you allergies due to the pollen in it is heavier than most of the other pollens. This falls directly to the ground. That's why you see this in large patches. A lot of the time it falls straight down and spreads. Ragweed is what you're getting these allergies from, and then this plant is being blamed for it. In fact, I read somewhere, and I don't remember which book it was in because I have several books, I cross-reference everything. Some of the other books say that this actually helps treat those allergies. And a lot of times, whatever plant that's causing you a problem, sometimes that very plant will hold the antidotes for that. And a lot of times, like now, if there's an allergy, a plant that's creating allergies now, there'll be a plant that's blooming right now that'll have those, how do you say it, the medicine for whatever that is. But this is a drying, astringent, flame reducing, anti-inflammatory for the mucous membranes. It's a urinary antiseptic, a mild sedative, reduces blood pressure. Now that was something I didn't know until today when I was researching it, and that's something that I struggle with at certain times, probably due to the large amount of pork and bacon I like to eat. You can tell that I'm not the healthiest person in the world, which I'm not in the worst shape, but as far as a personal testimony on this, last year I was drinking this Goldenrod tea, and I started losing weight. So it helps with draining water off of your body and flushing your kidneys out. This is not scientific fact, this is my personal opinion on this and what I have experienced. Last year as I drank this tea through the fall, I had about a gallon bag of it that I had dried, and I drank it till I run out of it, and then I saved the last little bit in case I needed it for medicine. And over the course of drinking it over the last couple of months into the later part of the year, I noticed I was losing a good bit of weight, like 10 to 15 pounds over a 3-month period. And I decided it was because I was flushing my body out and draining water off of my body. And so it may help you with, if you struggle with water retention. I'm not saying it will, but it's possible that this plant will help you drain that water off of your body. Be careful doing that. That's not in a scientific book. I just experienced this, and I'm going to do some more testing on it this fall to see if that's a fact. I drank this, and my wife, she said, "You're losing weight." And I noticed that my clothes are fitting a whole lot different. I lost several inches, and now I've gained it back. But I drank too much coffee, and I drank this because I like the flavor, and it's kind of it keeps me from drinking coffee throughout the day when I'm making pottery. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how I go about harvesting this, and I was already cutting some of it. You notice some of these plants are missing, and the camera died on me, and I didn't realize it. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting these, and I'm looking for, I'm just cutting them with my knife in true bushcraft fashion, because most of you know that I am somewhat of a bushcraft and survival nut. If you follow my channel on a regular basis, you know that we're doing this as a way of medicinal plants and preparing for some hard times ahead. Now, I'm going to harvest. I have several large patches of this plant growing. I do want to mention one more thing. And I know I'm talking with me turned around looking the other way. I'm going to show you one right here. There's a vine growing up this plant. I'm not going to harvest it. And I'm not going to harvest it because that vine is not harmful. But right here, that one's not it. There was one vine I pulled up a while ago, and it has a poison oak wrapped around it. So be careful when you're harvesting plants. Remember that if you get into that, plantain is a good thing to help remedy that. Jewelweed helps. Jewelweed is probably the best, and I haven't done a video on that. I'm going to grab the other that I had already cut. Now you see that some of this plant is over 6 foot tall. So I shouldn't have wrapped that around it. I got to redo the... But now we're going to go take a look. Like I said, the camera died a while ago, so I'm going to have some editing on what I'm saying that I've already said, but I wanted to make sure I covered everything that I wanted to talk about with these plants. But we're going to go look at the other species that I've found on this property, and I'm not sure what other species I have on this property, but I know I have found those too, and this one is pretty widespread, and this is a pretty good amount, and I'll harvest some more. Now what I'll do is I'll take this and I'll separate it. When I get home, I'll cut all the blooms off separate, and I have made a tonic. I used apple cider vinegar. What I did is I cut these all off into a jar, and then I poured apple cider vinegar over it, and I put a little bit of olive oil around the lid to prevent that apple cider vinegar from making it rust. That was a tip that my friend Mike Reed from Mike Reed Outdoors shared with us. And he's doing some really great videos on plants, and I've mentioned it before, you need to check his channel out. He has a wealth of great information on plants. I'm probably not going to do very many more plant videos this year. We've got a lot of stuff coming up that I want to get involved in. We've got a lot of archery and different things that we've got to get done, and we're going to do some more camping. So be looking for those videos, but we're going to go take a look at some other plants. Y'all stick with us. This right here is giant ironweed. It's got some purple stems to it, purple flowers, large green lanceolated serrated leaves on it. The guy that, like I mentioned earlier, he made a post on this on our Facebook group this morning or either yesterday evening. I don't have my phone with me, or I would read some of the things that he mentioned in that. But it's got a lot of medicinal properties. You need to look up giant ironweed. And the way that I discovered what this was, I had found it previously, I had not studied it, is my Picture This app. That app on the phone is probably one of the better ones for plant identification. However, it is not right 100% of the time. I know that on several mushrooms that it has missed. In fact, I had one this morning that come up in my yard that it got wrong, that's in fact a edible mushroom. It said it's not preferred. I don't even remember the name now, but I was curious because it was all in my front yard and my little boy is playing out there, and I'm scared if he picks it, is this gonna make him sick or not? So I researched that mushroom, but when I took a picture of it with Picture This, it was wrong. I've seen in groups people post a picture and say this is what this is, and it be wrong. So double check things, but it has been right more than any of the other apps. I also have the iNaturist app, and it's not very reliable, I'll just be honest with you. But I did want to show you, this is a beautiful plant blooming the same time as the goldenrod is. You see these beautiful blue flowers. It's probably one of the prettiest ones out here. And if you wanted to make you a bouquet out of this, it's not poison, it's not going to harm you. You could cut these and mix it with some goldenrod and make you a pretty centerpiece for a table. Okay guys, this right here is Solidago rugosa. I'm going to try to get this greenbrier out of the way. Now you know the tips of these, that one's done been eat off. The tips of them are edible, of these greenbriers. But I'm going to try to get it out of my way for now. Should have done it before. I'm standing here, you see this has not begun to bloom. It is just getting ready to start. These leaves are wrinkled looking. I'll get you a close-up view, but it has a lot of the same properties, but it's a lot shorter of a plant, and it's just a different variety. And there are lots of varieties of goldenrod, so you need to do the research and find out for sure which variety that you have in your area and what we like to call in your neck of the woods. So, but there's a lot of other people out there doing videos on this stuff. This is a very important plant. This one takes care of a lot of things, and I read through a lot of it, but one of the well-known things is fighting colds and flus and all that, and that's your more common ailments that people are going to deal with goldenrod. As in a diuretic, it's cleaning out your urinary tract. But it has a lot of medicinal properties. Like I said, they use it for a wash, like an antiseptic on top of the skins. So it'll take care of a lot of things. And the snake bite part of it I read kind of took me back. I don't know. I know plantain was used widely as a snake bite remedy for antivenom. So I don't know about this plant. But me personally, I really just enjoy it as a tea. From what I read, one of the varieties, I think it was the canadensis, was used when the Boston Tea Party happened and they threw all the European tea overboard, that they resorted to some of these goldenrods for their everyday teas. So it's been used for a long time, but I wanted to do this video on goldenrod. We're going to get you some close-up looks of this variety because this is the only other one that I know of that I have on my property. So this is what I'll be using, and I don't have very much of this. There's a little bit on the other side of the lane. This is a road that I travel by a good bit. So, but I do appreciate y'all watching my videos, and the wind's getting up, so I've got a windsock on my microphone. Hopefully it ain't whooping and making a bunch of racket. But I'm trying to produce quality content for you guys, but I'm still just me, my old country self. But just keep in mind that old country boy has got some books and he's studying, and I do know what I'm talking about when I make a video on this stuff. Don't let my accent fool you. But anyway, I hope you guys get out and learn about the plants that you've got. There's a wealth of knowledge and a medicine cabinet right in your backyard and in the woods. You walking over a lot of good things. So get involved in it, research it, get you some literature, books, and I'll link these books in my description box that I'm using, and good pictures and stuff of some of the pages where you can see kind of what's in those books, and so that you can make an informed decision on what books you need. Now, if I didn't have a book at all, I would start with a Peterson's Field Guide for my area. Remember, they're area specific. You need to get one that's for your area. So thank y'all for watching, and we'll see y'all next time on Spirit of the Outdoors.